Etymology and historical origin of the baby name Luciano. Luciano is the Italian, Spanish and Portuguese form of the Latin Lucianus, which itself comes from an old Roman family name which in turn comes from Lucius, an ancient personal name derived from the Latin word lux meaning light or to shine. The given name Lucius predates Christ by several centuries and was held by a couple of early Etruscan kings of ancient Rome as well as several other prominent Romans of antiquity. Lucius was also borne by 3 popes and several early saints. The name is mentioned briefly in the New Testament in reference to Lucius of Cyrene, who established the Christian church in Antioch. Despite the name's Christian connections, it never became a heavily used or widespread name in medieval Europe. It wasn't until the Renaissance, 14th to 17th centuries, that Lucius and his brethren got noticed. The spelling of Lucian, pronounced Loshn, is used among English speakers. The French spell it Lucien and the Spanish, Portuguese and Italians use Luciano or Lucio. Luciano, however, has a very specific Italian flair thanks to the internationally famous opera singer Luciano Pavarotti or the Italian-American mobster Lucky Luciano, whose notoriety rose during Prohibition-era America, 1920s and early 30s. Personality of the boy named Luciano. The 3 energy is powerful and enthusiastic. These personalities are cheerful, full of self-expression, and often quite emotional. They have an artistic flair and gift of gab that makes them natural entertainers. Their joyfulness bubbles over, and their infectious exuberance draws a crowd. The 3 personality is like a child, forever young and full of delight. They are charming, witty, and generally happy people. The 3 personality lives in the now and has a spontaneous nature. 3 seem to live with a bright and seemingly unbreakable aura that attracts others to them. In turn, they are deeply loyal and loving to their friends and family. Luck also has a tendency to favor number 3s. Popularity of the boy named Luciano. Luciano is a name with a sporadic history in America. It appeared occasionally in the early 1900s, most likely due to the impact of Italian immigration to the US. But it was still quite rare. The name reappeared a couple times in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but was still hardly detectable on the charts. For all intents and purposes, Luciano did not find a permanent place on the charts until 1998. This time, he appears to be sticking around. It remains a largely underused name, given to under 400 baby boys per year. We have found evidence of interest in Italian-sounding names today, and Luciano fits into this category, more so than as a Spanish or Portuguese name. It is therefore very ethnic and cosmopolitan sounding, like Mario, Giovanni, Leonardo, or Orlando. American English speakers also often pronounce Luciano with 4 syllables, Luciano, when the authentic Italian pronunciation is really Luciano. There's no doubt that Luciano is a shining example of a name as its etymology suggests. A great choice for Americans who want to honor their Italian heritage or for Italophiles in general. Quick facts on Luciano. Gender, boy. Origin, Italian. Number of syllables, 3. Ranking popularity, 594. Pronunciation, Luciano. Simple meaning, light, shining. Characteristics of Luciano. Happy, dramatic, optimistic, social, creative, communicative, popular. Cultural references to the baby name, Luciano. Famous people named Luciano. Luciano Pavarotti, opera singer, Luciano Berio, Italian composer, Luciano Tesi, Italian astronomer, Luciano Amelio, Brazilian soccer player, Luciano Ligabue, Italian singer and director, Luciano crime family, mafia family founded by Lucky Luciano, later renamed to Genovese crime family, Luciano Becchio, Argentine soccer player, Lucky Luciano, b. Salvatore Lucania, American mobster, Luciano, Jamaican reggae singer. Historic figures with the name Luciano. Luciano Pavarotti was an internationally famous opera singer, tenor, known especially for his quintessential Italian larger-than-life personality and showmanship. Born in north-central Italy in 1935, Pavarotti original had ambitions to be a soccer star. Eventually, he found himself drawn to his father's opera albums and began singing. By the age of 20, he was traveling with a hometown chorus, a group which won an international music competition in Wales. At the age of 25, Pavarotti made his operatic debut as Rodolfo in La Bohème. His international operatic debut came 2 years later at the Royal Opera House in London, also in the role of Rodolfo. America would follow in 1965 when he sang with Australian soprano Joan Sutherland, a partnership which would last for years. Pavarotti's powerful style expanded the popularity of opera music in the United States, and his famous tours with the Three tenors, Placido Domingo and José Carreras, further cemented classical music to the masses. Pavarotti died at the age of 71 in 2007 of pancreatic cancer as the world fell silent of one of the greatest voices ever to grace our airwaves. Salvatore Lucania was born in Sicily in 1897, but he immigrated to New York City with his family when he was 10 years old. Later, he became known as Luciano, the father of organized crime in America. Once in America, Lucky Luciano wasted no time in engaging in petty criminal activity, to the point where his parents were forced to send him to truancy school. There he formed gangs, which evolved into more serious criminal activity, such as gambling, extortion, and heroin dealing. As a teenager he met and formed a close relationship with 2 Jewish gang members, Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Siegel. When Prohibition came in the early 1920s, the door to opportunity was wide open for those who didn't shy away from crime and wanted to make heaps of money through bootlegging activities. Luciano and his gang would come to dominate the illegal alcohol market. He received his nickname Lucky in 1929 after surviving a brutal beating. After he became one of the Euro of the 5 crime families who controlled NYC, Luciano then went on to organize the network, establish formal rules and work to mitigate disputes. Commission as it was called, brought mob crime to a whole new level. That is, until Thomas E. Dewey became special prosecutor in 1935 and started to take a stronger position against organized crime. Lucky's luck was about to change. In 1936, he was sent to prison for extortion charges. After using his connections in Italy to aid the Allies in World War II, he was granted release from prison but forced into exile through deportation. He spent his days out between Italy and Cuba before suffering a heart attack and dying in the Naples, Italy airport at the age of 65. His legacy continues to this day.